things rolling. Okay, so welcome to you all. This is our fifth and final session of this meditation masterclass exploring the loving kindness meditation. And as I've said on previous occasions, it's part of the current cycle of the Nature of Mind project, exploring, I guess you could say, the compassionate mind, the loving mind. We've called the masterclass Making the Best of Our Minds. So that's what we've been exploring over the last few days. Like I said, this is part of a particular cycle in the Nature of Mind. It started with the interview with Paul Gilbert, the author of The Compassionate Mind, and was followed up with a seminar. And we've been trying to put into practice some of the themes that were being explored on those occasions. Of course, this is our final session, but the Nature of Mind project continues and moves on to other exciting themes. So I hope you've enjoyed this particular cycle of interview, seminar and meditation, and do join us for the following events as well. The Nature of Mind project, to be honest, I'm just really enjoying all the content that's coming out, and hope to see more and more things unfold over the course of the next few months and even beyond that. And yeah, it'd be great if you could all participate in the things to come. Don't forget, there's also the retreat coming up in June. It's quite soon now, isn't it? So under a month away. There's a retreat at Adhisthana, the 1st to the 5th of June. Nick can post some links to those different events and different bits of information. I can see things popping up out of the corner of my eye, so I know he's on to that. Yes, I do feel like you can come on the retreat. It would be great to have you participate in that and explore these things more deeply. And the final thing I'll say, I'm doing this now because I want to finish the session in a particular kind of way. But the Nature of Mind project, all the content is freely available. So everything is going up on YouTube and it's free to access. But of course, the whole project does need to be supported and financed so we can support people like Nick to post links when we need them, set up the tech, even when we've got technical glitches in the background. We also need various bits of equipment and that kind of thing. So do support the project financially if you can. So the suggested donation, if you came to the interview, seminar and meditation sessions, would be around £50. If you can give more than that, fantastic. If you can only give less, of course, that is fantastic too. So just give what you can and enjoy the Nature of Mind and participate in the Nature of Mind. And spread the word, tell your friends and family and that kind of thing about this project. Okay, so as I said, I'm saying all this now at the beginning rather than at the end, because I want us to end in a particular kind of way. So something to whet your appetites for what comes later. Stay tuned. And in this session, we'll finish off our exploration of aspects of the Metta Bhavana, aspects of loving kindness meditation. We started off by exploring the essentials, then we moved on and looked at some of the intensive aspects of Metta Bhavana practice. Today we're going to look at the profound aspects of Metta Bhavana practice. So just a quick recap, we've been exploring this definition from Sangharakshita, from Bhante, that love is the awareness of the being of another person. So love is the awareness of the being of another person. We've explored awareness by dropping out of our disembodied thought worlds into the totality of our experience, and we've been bringing that awareness to the being of another person, another people, and also to our own being, and doing that in a particular way. So really trying to become aware of the fundamental aliveness of ourselves and other people, and coming into a deeper awareness of the desire that all people have to be happy and to be free from suffering. So that's the essential foundation for metta, and if we can come into that awareness of aliveness, metta will naturally arise, metta will naturally emerge. We can intensify that, and we can even challenge that, as we've seen on the last couple of days by doing the full 5-stage version of the Metta Bhavana practice. So bringing to mind a friend, a neutral person, and somebody we treat as an enemy, somebody we find particularly difficult. And what that does is it deliberately provokes, if you like, and tests where the resistances are within us, where the resistances are, where the knots are. And we're trying to soften and to loosen those resistances and those knots. And of course, it's a challenge because we are coming into relationship to the deepest rooted habits in the unenlightened mind. So our attachments, our indifference, and our aversion. So it's a challenge to do that. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be difficult. It's meant to give us a test. But that's also why it's a liberating practice. So it liberates us because we can come into awareness with those things that are usually running below our conscious surface. So what we do is we don't take a judgmental and critical attitude. We expand our sense, our awareness, our kindly awareness to include also our emotional responses in our relationships to other people. So always we're trying to expand out that kindly awareness that we've been exploring. And yesterday we added a further nuance to that by acknowledging that sometimes we come into contact with the fact of somebody's suffering and the fact of somebody's joy. So if everybody wants to experience happiness and move away from suffering, sometimes we see that that's not happening. Sometimes we see that it is happening. And again, that can provoke and prompt certain emotional responses. And always we're incorporating that into a kindly awareness. So that's the ground we've been covering, and we'll continue to explore that ground by doing a period of Metta Bhavana this morning. And after that period of sitting, we won't have questions and answers. As I say, we'll have something else, but I'll say more about that when we get to that point. But first, I just want to say a few words about this more profound aspect of Metta Bhavana. In a sense, everything we've already been exploring is profound. Just that simple, seemingly simple act of coming into awareness of being alive. You couldn't get any more profound than that, in a sense. But I want to draw out the profundity of Metta Bhavana, particularly in relation to the final stage of the practice. So say a little bit more about what we're doing in the final stage when we're expanding our metta out to more and more people. It's the all-embracing, boundless quality of metta that we're bringing more fully into being in that last stage. So there's different ways of talking about that. Sometimes people would describe it as equalizing metta, so trying to develop and cultivate or explore or bring into being a metta that is equal amongst all different people. Another way of putting it would be to break down the barriers. So often we separate people out into categories. In fact, we've deliberately been doing that as we've explored the practice in 5 stages. But we allow those barriers to drop so that we can come into relationship to people in a more equal kind of way. In the lead-throughs in the previous couple of days, I've been encouraging us not to expect that we will feel equally towards each person on all kinds of levels. So this final stage, it's not about liking everybody in the same way or feeling that our connection, our relationship to everybody is the same on all levels. It's not really like that. How could that be, in a way? Because each human being is unique and particular. So when I bring Jeremy to mind, and when I bring Jack to mind, that's a different sort of experience on one level. They look different for a start. They act differently. They're both lovely people, but they've got their own way of expressing their own loveliness. So it's a different experience. They both have their own unique and particular atmosphere. And therefore, when I come into relationship to them, I have my own unique way of doing things and acting and saying things. There's a particular atmosphere to the connection itself. So we're not trying to override that and kind of level that and pretend that that's not the case. So there is still a kind of awareness of uniqueness and particularity, but we are trying to come into a sense of equality, for want of a better word, in a particular kind of way, a sameness, an awareness of the sameness between ourselves and all other people in a particular kind of way. And it's specifically that deep desire that we all have to be happy, to be free from suffering. It's coming into an awareness of the life that's unfolding in and through all of us, that ultimately can unfold and fully realize itself in enlightenment. So there's no difference between that unfolding life, that desire for happiness and suffering in me, as there is from Jeremy, as there is from Jack. So we're trying to tune into that sameness, that same desire, that same aliveness as we've been exploring all the way through, but just expanding that to include more and more people. If we do that, we're starting to see like a Buddha, to put it simply. We're starting to tune into how the Buddha would have seen other people, would have related to other people. So obviously in the Buddha's case, all the resistances, all the knots and blockages to the free-flowing loving kindness, they've all gone. We've been trying to loosen them, soften them, but in the Buddha, all those resistances and knots have gone. So he sees people in a particular kind of way. The awareness of another being in the case of a Buddha, maybe we're starting to approach that and get a hint of that. It's quite mysterious, but at least we're trying to approach that and get a hint of that. And we can get a suggestion of what that might be like from the Buddhist tradition and from the scriptures. So in the Arya Pariyesana Sutta, in the Pali Canon, the Buddha gives a description of his own enlightenment, and he describes what happens in the days following his enlightenment. So following that moment when all those resistances and blockages are gone. And he describes this experience of looking out on the field of living beings and seeing them as being like lotuses. So he uses this beautiful image of human beings as being like lotuses. And lotuses, of course, as you all probably know, you'll have seen images of them, at least if you've not seen them live. Lotuses grow out of pools of water. And usually the pools of water are quite dirty, muddy pools. You wouldn't expect something so beautiful to emerge from a kind of dirty, muddy pool. We've got a pond here and it's quite thick with weed at times. It's dark, it's muddy, and yet in the summer these lilies just emerge spectacularly out of the water. So there has to be this process of kind of pushing up. For the growing lotus, it has to emerge from these quite slimy depths and penetrate the surface of the water, unfold into the sun, and transform into something beautiful from something that couldn't even be seen. So the Buddha's saying that human beings are like that. The way he sees human beings is to see them like that. So to see their, if you like, their potential, like we've been exploring, to see that life is trying to unfold in and through the lotus, in and through the human being. And when it does, when it's able to do that freely, what emerges is this miracle, if you like, this spectacular, beautiful, glowing, colourful lotus, this amazing, beautiful, colourful human being. So it's an interesting image, isn't it? Interesting simile, because it's about a plant, it's about a flower which grows naturally in its conditions, in its environment, if those conditions are right. It takes time. It can't be forced. You can't force a flower to open. So we're drawing on an image here from the natural world and the interplay of elements. And the Buddha's saying that we're like that. We are part of life. We're unfolding in the same way. But often we don't necessarily think of ourselves like that. Those resistances, those knots, those blocks to our awareness of being that we've been exploring, the things that block our free flow of metta, in a sense, they're to do with breaking up our experience into bits. Rather than seeing our experience as this natural unfolding process, we kind of break things up into little bits, into our concepts and our ideas about things, and then things can start to get a bit stuck. So we mistake our ideas and our concepts for reality itself. And ultimately what that involves is breaking reality up into something that we see separately as me, something we see separately as you, something we see as other person, kind of separately. So we're making these distinctions between me, you, other person, them, us, all those kinds of distinctions that we're imposing on top of this unfolding life. In a sense, the unfolding is me, is what I call me, is what I call you, is what I call other people. So is there really a distinction? If we can tune into life at its most fundamental level, is there really a distinction? Does that hold up, that distinction between me, between you, between other people? Metta ultimately is taking us beyond that vision of life as being something that we can break down into bits, fix, and manipulate and control. Metta is ultimately a vision that's taking us beyond that. And it does that without eradicating, as I've said already, the particular and the unique. So it's quite hard for us to get our heads around that, isn't it? Or our hearts around that. That we can relate on the basis of sameness and not break up into distinctions. And yet there's also this appreciation, in fact, a deepening appreciation of particularity and uniqueness. So what we're opening up to is something quite extraordinary, something that we can't understand only with our dualistic consciousness, has to be explored in experience, entered into through experience. But in the Metta Bhavana practice, particularly the last stage, it's trying to show us that vision. It's trying to get us to approach that vision of, as I say, the Buddha's. You can see why the Buddha would use a poetic image for that. It can't be grasped only conceptually and rationally. It can only be pointed at through an image. Ultimately, it is something that is mysterious. The other reason this image of the lotus lake, the simile of beings being like lotuses, is very apt, I think, as a description for this vision of what can emerge of how we might relate to others ultimately, is that it's beautiful. As I've said, the lotus is beautiful. The lilies that grow in our pond are beautiful. Other human beings are beautiful when we relate to them on this kind of deeper level. So the Buddha said that metta leads to the liberation called the beautiful. And in the translations, beautiful is given with a capital B. It's not an ordinary beauty, it's a beauty beyond beauty, we might even say. So this image of the lotus is showing us that metta leads to the liberation that is the beautiful. So it's indescribable, ultimately. Indescribable, indefinable, but indescribably and indefinably beautiful, we could add. So that's what we're going to try to approach, get a bit closer to, get a bit more deeply into today. So I'll lead through a period of Metta Bhavana. We'll do that as we have been doing, and I'll guide it a bit more lightly because you've got a sense of how I'm suggesting we approach things. But I'll say more in the final stage and try to get us to open up to this vision of sameness and particularity, we could say. After the meditation, as I've said, we'll have a couple of minutes, and then we won't have questions and answers on this occasion. We'll finish with something a bit different, and I'll say more about that when we get there. So if we want to set up for our meditation, and we'll have a period of Metta Bhavana. So before we begin the meditation today, I'm just going to read a short poem by Sangharakshita. And really it's just evoking some of the themes I've mentioned there, the beauty and profundity and depth of Metta Bhavana, of loving kindness, and of the other Brahma Viharas as well. We've spoken yesterday of compassion, of sympathetic joy, of equanimity. All of that, I think, is contained in this particular poem. Compassion is far more than emotion. It is something that springs up in the emptiness, which is when you yourself are not there, so that you do not know anything about it. Nobody, in fact, knows anything about it. If they knew it, it would not be compassion. But they can only smell the scent of the unseen flower that blooms in the heart of the void. So to begin with, just sitting in the atmosphere of the poem, open to the mystery of what's unfolding, without having to do anything at all. Coming into relationship to our mind as it is in this moment. And starting to come into a deeper awareness of the body, the energy of the body, and allowing energy and awareness to sink down through the body, and filling up the lower half of the body. So aware of all the sensations in the hips, sitting bones, legs and feet. Points of contact between body and earth. Even sinking awareness slightly down into the earth, giving us a sense of being rooted, grounded, unshakable. Breathing up into the body from the earth, becoming aware of the upper part of the body, which is aligned, alert, lighter, brighter. Taking awareness all the way up to the crown of the head, softening the face, the tongue and the jaw, resting awareness in the heart center, the heart space, the center of our physical experience, but also from there opening to our other senses, as if we're listening with the heart, seeing, smelling, tasting with the heart, feeling and thinking from the heart center. recalling the heart's deepest wish to be happy and free from suffering. For life to unfold in and through us. And meeting this rich human experience with a kindly awareness. Life unfolding in and through us in a field of kindly awareness. And expanding that field of kindly awareness to include a good friend, becoming aware of our friend, their atmosphere, their appearance, voice, how it feels to be in their presence. Aware of their aliveness, their desire to grow, unfold, flourish. Balancing this awareness with an awareness of our own emotional responses. Maybe it's straightforwardly metta, but maybe something else. And whatever's emerging for us, meeting that with a non-judgmental, non-critical, kindly awareness. And seeing if that deepens a connection. So coming into relationship with everything that's arising with kindly awareness. Allowing the image or sense of our friend to dissolve or fade away. Resting in the heart center. Body grounded and alert. Bringing to mind a neutral person. Someone we have no strong feelings of liking or disliking towards. Coming into an awareness of their being, of their fundamental aliveness, of the life in them, unfolding through them. And aware too of our own emotional responses and how they unfold. Meeting everything with this kindly awareness, non-critical, non-judgmental. So recognizing any distractions as resistance or as a block. Not judging that, but bringing kindly awareness to that response. And in doing that, we can come into closer relationship to the neutral person. As we come into relationship to the neutral person, we come into relationship to our resistances. We come into relationship to our resistances. We come into closer relationship to the neutral person. So an ever deepening awareness of our own being, the being of another person. And the more metta can naturally arise and flow. Allowing the image or felt sense of the neutral person to fade. Resting in the heart space. Enveloped in a field of loving kindness. Bringing to mind somebody we treat like an enemy, somebody we have difficulty with, and experience aversion towards, however subtly. Can we open up to their being, their essential humanness and aliveness? How they desire happiness and freedom from suffering. And aware of our own emotional responses. Not judging or criticizing the responses, or perpetuating them if it's not metta. But acknowledging, coming into relationship, softening, being open to awareness of the person we find difficult, deepening, and the possibility of metta arising. staying in touch with the body, so our emotional responses can manifest physically, noticing tensions and tightenings, enfolding them in kindly awareness too. Resting in the heart center and bringing back to mind our friend and the neutral person, together with the person we find difficult, and ourselves. And as we bear these four people in mind, noticing a collective atmosphere, noticing any residual tendency to turn towards one person or another, turn away from one person or another. Seeing if we can stay aware and present to all four people. We're not trying to make them the same or to like them equally. But we can try to be aware of the sameness, of the humanness, of the aliveness of all four people. So life unfolding in and through each person, it's the same life. Expressing itself as the desire to be happy, free of suffering. So dropping our categories of friend, neutral, and enemy. Because relating to each other on this basis don't make any sense. Beginning to expand our kindly awareness to include others, beginning with each other. So all of us participating in this meditation. Some of us will be friends. Some of us won't know each other. Some of us might not like each other, the look of each other. But all of us are equally alive and human. Life unfolding through us all equally in this moment. So bathing each other in kindly awareness. Even across great expanses of space. And including others, people in our buildings, in our streets, other friends, family, people we know, people we don't know. People we'll never know. People yet to be born. Just seeing who comes, who emerges in our minds. Open to anybody. Open to their being. Love is the awareness of their being. And allowing our images and sense of different people to dissolve and fade, but staying in touch with the feeling of metta, the atmosphere of metta that we've tuned into. Can we dwell in an atmosphere of metta without specific objects? So a field of loving kindness, at the center of it, our own heart, emerging out of our own heart in all directions. We can even let go of our sense of location. So just loving kindness everywhere. And even letting go of our concept of loving kindness. So that there's just this. Relaxing. On this occasion, no need to desire that the benefits be shared from our practice. The benefits are already everywhere. So just sitting. And when we're ready, starting to bring the meditation to a close, beginning to open the eyes, moving the body. So it almost feels like we should just finish there in silence, having at least approached some of the profound depth of metta. But there are a few more things I'll say, just very brief things. First of all, just how much I've appreciated the last 5 mornings and being able to be with you all. I know some of you have been here every day. Those of you who haven't, it's been great to have you whenever you've been with us. Very, very beneficial to me, actually, to be able to do this and explore metta in more depth and try to communicate some of my own explorations and threads of interest. I just want to encourage everybody to carry on exploring the practice. As I said at the beginning, it's just been aspects of metta bhavana. It's just been that handful of leaves, like the Buddha with the handful of sinsapa leaves, sharing the Dharma. We could only explore particular threads, and there are so many other things that one could explore in the practice. And I hope that what we've explored in these sessions has given you some threads to follow for yourself in your own practice. So I do hope you can all do that and are inspired to do that. One other thing to repeat from another day is just to get into communication about your exploration of metta bhavana. It's been one of the joys of the last couple of weeks preparing for this, just talking to people more about their metta bhavana practice, asking them questions. What do they find challenging? What have they found useful? Even just talking about metta evokes it. It seems like there's more metta in the atmosphere when we talk about it. So do get into communication with people. If you're not part of a sangha of people meditating, then find one, seek one out, and seek out people that you can talk to about your meditation. Okay, so just another thank you. Thanks to Nick for all his tech support, and thanks to you all for joining us, to Jack and to Jeremy. We've still got a little bit of time, and I do want to finish with something else. If you can stay with us for another 10 minutes or so. What I thought we would do is just sit again, but just sitting comfortably. You don't have to sit in meditation posture if you don't want to. And we'll just sit in silence, and I'm going to read us the Karaniya Metta Sutta. That's where this all comes from, the Buddha's teaching on metta. So I'll read it in English translation, and then I'm going to chant it in the original Pali, and we'll just sit listening to the chant. Very beautiful language, very beautiful sound. So we'll just sit, as I say, metta leads to the liberation that is the beautiful, and we can start to get a sense of the beauty just in the chanting the original language, or close to the original language of the Buddha. So that's how we'll conclude this meditation masterclass. Thanks again to everybody for joining us. So if you want to get into a comfortable sitting position, I'm going to reorientate myself too, and we'll have the Karaniya Metta Sutta and a final bell. So just sitting comfortably. The Karaniya Metta Sutta. This must be done by one who is skilled in the good, who understands the way to attain the deepest peace. They should be capable, straightforward, perfectly straightforward, beautifully spoken, responsive, and free of all conceit. Contented, easily satisfied, with few wants and not over-busy, with peaceful senses, intelligent, modest, not greedy after gifts and status. Nor should they do the slightest thing for which the wise might criticize them. Then they should meditate like this. May all living beings be happy and at peace. May they have deep welling happiness. May all living beings, weak or strong, omitting none, tall, middle-sized or short, subtle or gross of form, seen or unseen, those dwelling near or far away, born or unborn, may every living thing abound in bliss. May none deceive another, nor despise any person whatsoever in any place. May they not wish any harm to one another out of anger or ill will. Just as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, bring forth an all-embracing loving mind. Bring forth unbounded love for all the world, above, below, across, in every way, love unobstructed, without any enmity. Standing or moving, sitting, lying down, whatever you are doing, be free of laziness and wield this mindfulness of boundless love. For this is what the wise call abiding in the divine. Not falling into views, skillful, filled with perfect vision, with all craving for sense desires gone, truly they are liberated from repeated birth. Karaniya Metta Kusalena Yantam Santam Padam Abhisamecha Sako Ujucha Sujucha Savachucha Samadu Anatimani Santusakocha Subarocha Apakichocha Salahukavuti Santindriyocha Nipakocha Apagabokulesu Ananugido Nachakudam Samachare Kinchi Yena vinyu pare upavadeyum. Sukino va kemino hantu. Sabe sata bhavantu sukitata. Yeke chipana bhutati. Tasava tavarava anavasesa. Diga vaye mahantu bha. Majjima rasaka anakatula. Dita vaye va adita. Yecha dure vasanti avidure. Bhuta vasambhave siva. Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Naparo param nikubeta. Nati manyeta kata chinam kinchi. Vyaro sana patika sanya. Nyanya manya sadukam micheya. Mata yata niyam putam. Ayusa ye kaputam anurake. Ivam pisa babutesu. Manasambhavaye aparimanam. Metang chasabalokasmim. Manasambhavaye aparimanam. Udang ado chatiriyang cha. Asambadam avaram asapatam. Titam charam nisinova. Sayamo vayavatassa vigatamido. Etam satim aditeyo. Brahmanetam viharamidamahu. Ditencha anupagama. Silavadasanena sampanno. Kamesu vinaya gedam. Nahi jatu gabaseyam punareti. Okay, so that concludes our morning, concludes our 5-day exploration of aspects of Metta Bhavana. May you all be well and happy and continue practicing. Thank you. So Nick can unmute us. We can say our goodbyes. And yeah, wish you all very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi,
Have a
everybody.
lovely day.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
You.
Padmasagara.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Padmasagara.
You're welcome.